I am very proud personally this morning to be joining you for the 150th anniversary of the establishment of Bankfoot House and the launch of Mr. Ron Gillender's new book about this important piece of Queensland history.
Well, good morning everybody. It's just fantastic to have such a great crowd here today, and thank you very much for coming, particularly to those in period costume. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians, and as you're aware, in the Sunshine Coast, that is the Kabi people in the coastal plains and northern hinterland, and the Jinnaburra people of the southern hinterland. And indeed, here we are today at this important interface between those two traditional custodian groups.
Old Gympie Road is aligned to a traditional boundary between the Jinnaburra people of the hinterland and the Kabi people of the coastal plains.
We are the Black Cockatoo Dance, and we see that bird flying low, calling out. People know that rain might be coming this way. When it's sort of acting real strange and you go, hey, look, he sounds distressed, that bird. You're trying to tell you, there's a big storm coming your way.
It's hard for us to imagine today what faced William and Mary Grigger when they came to this place with their two young children 150 years ago. The land was rough and uncultivated. Their nearest neighbour was 13 kilometres away at Melham Creek. For 11 years, William and Mary, John and baby Janet were the only European settlers in the region. They brought to the Glasshouse Mountains the skills that William had learnt in the casual jobs he worked to make ends meet in Brisbane: farming, timber cutting and shingle splitting. These skills would serve the Grigger as well, but what was infinitely more valuable to them was the pioneering spirit which Mary and William brought to our region. Because the Griggers had already worked for their passage from Scotland to Australia, they'd established a business in what became Alexandra Headland. They'd started a family and acquired a house there, but the region between Brisbane and Gympie was going through a great transformation. Opportunities were open to those who were willing to have a go and work hard, and William and Mary were determined to be part of it. They left their home at the mouth of the Mooloolah River and they built Bankfoot House. They saw the opportunity to create a horse staging post and provide for the ever-growing procession of coaches rolling between Gympie and Brisbane.
Look, we're celebrating the 150th anniversary. This is a very important historical precinct on the Sunshine Coast. The Grigger, Burgess and Ferris families, this was their home over a number of generations. Right here in the shadows of the Glasshouse Mountains on the Cobb and Co trail to Gympie.
An ordinary Australian home with extraordinary pioneering beginnings, Bankfoot House was kept in continuity by three generations: Grigor, Burgess and Ferris, each with their own concern for recording and preserving their family history. It's wonderful that there are descendants of those families here with us today.
I just feel so privileged to think that this is my great-grandparents, my grandparents' home, and it's still here. And so many of the things that are in the house. The house has got a closed policy where anything they won't just accept anything from anyone, but anything that's been here before can be returned. And there's so much stuff from our place. We got all the crosscut saws and they all came back. And then we got all the axes and we got them sorted out and brought them back. And kerosene lamps and things like that that would have originally come from here.
And we know that the road here, it started from humble beginnings for horse and cart, with Cobb and Co starting their operations in Queensland in 1866. And remember, it was only in 1859 that Queensland became a colony, and less than a decade later, in 1867, gold was discovered at Gympie, which was originally named Nashville. And it was in 1868 that the government of the day, they allocated £2,700 for the construction of the route to Gympie, the route you see by us here today. And that route has always remained the backbone of this area.
Strategically positioned between Brisbane and the Gympie goldfields on an elevated site which was easy to spot from a distance. As vividly described by Mr. Gillander in his book, when the Cobb & Co coach driver could see Mount Beerwell, he knew lunch wasn't far away.
The rich heritage of our Sunshine Coast is very important to Council and indeed to our community. And in 2015, the Sunshine Coast Council Heritage Plan was endorsed to help us identify, protect, conserve and manage the region's heritage. Both our Indigenous heritage and our non-Indigenous heritage is what has made our region what it is today. And it helps to shape where we go and what we achieve into the future. We all remember places and stories, people and things from the past, and we know how important these are to us personally and of course to our family groups. Today, Bankfoot House is our focus.
Stories like these offer a unique insight into the lives of fellow Queenslanders from a bygone era. Indeed, Bankfoot House and the collection held here help us visualise what it was like in those days. And it must be especially interesting for young people such as we have here today. Girls and boys, it's wonderful to see you with us today because you provide a very important link into the future for many of us.
Once a Cobb & Co lunch stop, on the journey to Gympie Goldfields today it is being relaunched as the preeminent heritage precinct on our Sunshine Coast. Bankfoot House is like a time capsule of our region's heritage since European settlement, capturing the lives of 3 generations of the same family who lived and loved the house.
On behalf of all Queenslanders, I would like to thank Sunshine Coast Council again and the Friends of Bankfoot House, members, volunteers and supporters most sincerely for their efforts in conserving what is a truly fascinating precinct and keeping it accessible to the community.
The Sunshine Coast today is going through its own incredible transformation. Today, like then, our community is growing and new ground is being broken. The achievements of William and Mary and the house they built are a valuable reminder that today, just as in 1868, we would do well to embody that pioneering spirit and take the opportunity to make our community an even greater place.